Okay, I think we're live.
I think so.
All right. We are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm Daniel.
I'm Jesse Roberts.
And we want to welcome you all to a brief overview of what's new with Google Classroom. So we do want to make sure that everybody is able to get in, that you're able to get comfortable, sit down, and just kind of enjoy a little overview of what has changed in Google Classroom, some of the things that have been added to Google Classroom, some of the things that have been taken away from Google Classroom, as well as some of the ways that we see that you could use Google Classroom in your class, or if you're a parent, some of the things that your student might be seeing with Google Classroom and how you might be able to help them with using Google Classroom. So we want to show you our screens here in a little bit, kind of give you an overview of what's new in Google Classroom. Then Jesse's going to show you kind of how you go through Google Classroom and how to actually manipulate some of the things. And as a student, what the students would see. I'm going to be playing a student in one of Jesse's classrooms, so we're going to get right started with that and try to join in. If you would like to use the live chat, you can find the live chat on the right. If you're inside of YouTube, you can find the live chat there on the right, and we'll try to reply back. I've got a computer set up over here that we're going to try to reply back to any comments or any questions that you may have. So if you're a teacher and you're just using Google Classroom and you have questions about, okay, how do I do this or how do I do that, ask us a question in the chat. If you're a parent and you're like, well, I'd like to know a little bit more about how this works or what exactly is that, feel free to ask us inside the chat as well. Or if you're an administrator and you'd like to know a little bit about how Google Classroom works, ask your questions in there. Feel free to ask whatever you'd like. We'll try to answer as much as we can through this live broadcast. So I'm going to start out here and we will share my screen and we will see if, make sure that everybody's able to see the screen here. And then we'll get started within Google Classroom. So inside of Google Classroom here, I have, it is at classroom.google.com is the way you can get to it. Or if you click on the 9 dots up here, as always, the apps launcher, you click on Classroom and it brings you right into your Google Classroom. So whether you're a teacher, whether you're a student, you'll still get to Classroom the exact same way.
What if my Classroom's not showing up in those 9 dots?
Okay, if Classroom's not showing up in your 9 dots, you may not be logged in to your wisek12.org or your school domain login. It's kind of organized over there, or you may just need to scroll down. So this is pretty much all of the apps that you might find inside of your Google Apps for Education. So if you are signed into a G Suite for Education account and you don't see Classroom at the top, scroll down a little bit because it should be down, especially down here at the bottom, or maybe more apps. But the absolute best way, the surefire way to get to Classroom is if you direct your browser to classroom.google.com.
That's a good thing about Google. Most of the Google products, things in G Suite, if you just type the name of the service.google.com, you're going to get to it. If you want to get to forms.google.com, docs.google.com, mail.google.com, that's a pretty cool little thing. Remember, you just type the name of the thing you're looking for, .google.com, and you will find it.
All right, so here we are at classroom.google.com. And inside of Classroom, I'll see all of the different classes that I have here, and they've got a few little changes just here within Classroom when you first come to it. So one of the big changes that has occurred within Classroom is the fact that you're now able to just click on any of your classes and drag them to reorganize them. So if you've got multiple classes, if you're a teacher and you're teaching 3 blocks of Algebra 1, or you're teaching 2 blocks of Algebra 1, 1 block of Algebra 2, and you want all of your Algebra 1s to be in one location and then your Algebra 2 to be off to itself, or let's say you want to reorganize those in the order that your blocks occur, so block 1, 2, and 3, block 1, 3, and 4, you can just click on the class itself, drag it around, and you'll be able to reorganize those classes. Inside the class itself, they've really streamlined the way everything looks. So the way that everything is set up is a little bit more streamlined. It looks a little bit more organized, and it's a little bit just more basic looking. They've rounded off the edges. It's very clean looking. So one of the things that they have changed with Google Classroom recently is the way that you can get your class code. Jesse's going to actually show you how you can use that class code. But as a teacher, if you get into Google Classroom, you'll see your class code right here. So class code will be right there. You're able to see that class code and give that class code out to your students rather than having to go find it or locate it in another tab or in another location. So that's a really handy little tool that you have. You're able to just quickly look at your class code. You can also click on that box and it will display your class code large for your students to see, or click on it again and it full screens that class code so that you could throw it up on your smart board or on your display that you have so your students can join your classroom using your class code. They've also updated some of the ways that these tabs are laid out. So at the top, we have talked about it a little bit before, the new classwork tab that has just come out. We've done a few social media posts and stuff like that about the classwork tab. And we'll go through a little bit of what exactly this classwork tab does in just a little bit. But you got the classwork tab. You do have your stream, and that's the first thing that you come to, and that's kind of like your Facebook wall. Your classwork tab, then your people tab. The people tab is where you're able to see the folks who are in your class, whether they are teachers or students. It's also where you can direct add anyone that you want to directly add into your class. And then finally, if you have if your school division has enabled this beta access to the new gradebook, you'll have a grades tab. And we'll talk a little bit more about the grades tab in just a second and how you can use the grades tab. But this is only available on Google domains that have enabled the gradebook feature. So the gradebook feature is only available to those school divisions who have requested for it to be added in beta access. Now, this is coming out to everyone later on this year, but it is available right now for anyone who would like to request beta access. So as a teacher, if you would like to have access to the gradebook and you don't have that, then contact your school division's Google Apps for Education administrator, and they can get that going for you. But here in Wise County, we already have access to this. So as a Wise County Public Schools teacher, if you get into your Google Classroom, you will see the gradebook tab at the top, and this will give you a nice gradebook that you can use inside of your Google Classroom. And it will automatically pull the grades that you assign in your Google Classroom into that gradebook. And so those are some of the new things that are set up inside of Google Classroom. They've also, inside of the gear, they've added if you have the gradebook beta access, they've added a feature where you can go in and you can set the overall grade calculation, the way that it's calculated. So if you want it to be a total points or weighted by category, you can also, if you set category, you can go down here and you can add your categories for your gradebook. So if you wanted to have tests, quizzes, whatever, and it will tell you to add in a percentage that counts up. So it has to add up to 100%, but you can go in and you can set up these weighted categories as well that will go through and allow you to set up the different types of calculations for grades in your classroom. So that's kind of what they've added as far as new in Google Classroom. Jesse, you ready to show them kind of how to manipulate this and how we get started with using Google Classroom? And this is if you've never used Google Classroom, or if you're a veteran Google Classroom user and you're just like, hey, I'd like to see a little bit about how this happens. So we're going to share Jesse's screen here, and he's going to show you a little bit of how you can get started within Google Classroom.
All right, so we're talking today the changes in Google Classroom, and changes might not be the best wording, because that's one of the great things about these Google G Suite products is they really don't change; they just get approved on. Google Classroom still works the same way. Nuts and bolts are still there. It's still there to get information out to students. But what Google does constantly is improves on it and takes your feedback and our feedback and makes the product easier to use. And I think they've done this with these improvements. I do like the new look of it. It's cleaner. I'm not saying that it didn't look good before, but it was a little blocky. But now this is a little more streamlined, cleaner. Here's a little snow day Google Class I've created for today's training. So I'm going to go there. So like we said, it's streamlined, it's cleaner looking. We've got the new classwork tabs, and we got the people tab and the new grades tabs. These are nice things. These are features that Google is taking feedback from educators and added. So like we said, don't think a classroom's making this big dramatic change. Really, it's just improve upon the product, make it easier for us to use. So first things first, probably the most important thing is how do we get our students into our Google Classroom after we have created it. And let's go back here to classroom.google.com. These are very simple to make. If you just come up here to the plus and click create or join.
Saying that your screen is not sharing.
My screen is not sharing. Okay.
Let's see if we can force it to share.
Okay.
Real quick. There we go. Now we should be good.
Showing mine, or is it?
Yeah, we're good. Now we're good. All right.
So we'll kind of backtrack a little bit. You kind of heard what I was saying. So here's a snow day classroom that I've created for us to use today. If you're wanting to create your own classroom, you'll come up here to the plus and click it and create a class. All right. Once you do that, it'll ask you to give it a name. You can do a section, subject, room number, all that information. You put all the information that you want into this classroom. All right, so let's talk about adding people to our class. There's two ways. For me, I think the easiest way is to do the quick add by coming here to where it says students and clicking the person with the plus. That's how we can invite students. As long as you know their first or last name, or their username, you can add them in. I'm going to add my son into this class, doing it the quick way. So there's my son, Jason Roberts. And I could just keep adding students if I wanted to. If I wanted to add another student, we'll add my daughter in here and click invite. Now, we're also going to show you how to add people using the class code. Like Daniel said, this is an improvement in Google Classroom. The class code's on your stream. It's always up there available for you to use. So you can click this little box beside of your class code, and there it is. Now, Daniel's going to go over on his side, and he's going to show you from the student perspective how a student will actually get into the class using this code.
All right. So I may want to, as a student, I'll go to Google Classroom. And let's see if we can get it to share my screen here. I'll click on the plus, and I would click on Join Class. And when I click on Join Class, it lets me type in Jesse's class code. Now, Jesse, when would a teacher want to use the code, and when would they want to do the invite students?
I think if you have Chromebooks in your classroom, I think using the invite code would be fine. But if you're going down to the lab or something like that, and that's where you're using Google Classroom, is you're having to go down to a shared lab, I think it's best to invite them beforehand, because that just helps in that transition and timing. For me personally, I like the quick add where I invite the students myself. That way, when they go to classroom.google.com, the class will already be there, and all they have to do is click join. So it's whatever your personal preference is. Especially with younger kids, I would probably do the direct add. That way, they don't have to type in the class code, because that's one of the things we hear from teachers, younger grades, is having them actually type in stuff sometimes can be a hassle. Yeah. So whether you do the quick or the giving them the invite code, either or, they're both easy. But for me personally, I'd rather do the quick add. But if you're going to give the class code, then you're going to show them how to you already did that, didn't you?
Yep. I added the class code to join your class. So we are ready to get some work. And as a student, my view is very similar to what Jesse's view is as a teacher. So real quick, to show you kind of what I'm saying here, as my view, I kind of see the same thing. I see a stream, I see a classwork tab, and I see a people tab. Now, I can't add things into the classwork tab like Jesse could. I could just view what he's assigned. For the people tab, I can't invite other people in here. I can just see my classmates and send an email to those classmates if I wanted to. And then in the stream, I'm given the options based upon how Jesse sets up his class as to whether or not I can actually share things out to the class in the stream, kind of posting things out to the wall.
That's the best thing about this. As a teacher, as an educator, you can lock down the stream as much as you want, or you can open it up as much as you want. If you're wanting to do a lot of class discussion, you can make it to where the students can make their own posts and make comments on each other's posts, or you can lock it down as to where you, the teacher, can only make posts.
And that's a pretty handy tool, I think. And even down to the individual student, you can lock down. So let's say you have that one kid, everybody else is doing great, but you have that one kid who is just really being a pain. They're posting things out there and they're just commenting on things that they shouldn't say. You can go in and you can mute that specific student inside Google Classroom. That's a feature that's always been around, but it's one of probably the best features, I think, when it comes down to stream posts, is that I can take a student and say, no, you don't get the right to post things out because you've already lost your privilege of being able to make posts inside of Google Classroom. So it really just becomes a place where they turn in work. They have no social aspect to it.
One thing I would tell people who are going to use Google Classroom for the first time, if you do leave it wide open, every time somebody makes a post or a comment in the stream, you're going to be notified about it, usually by email. So your inbox will get pretty full pretty quick if you're just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
So let's go back. We're back to me.
Yep, we're back to you.
So we're back here, my people tab. Did it switch over, Daniel?
Mm-hmm. You're on. Yeah. It's on you.
Okay, good. Just making sure. All right. So, we've added our students in. Daniel got added in. Here's a feature that I want to show, especially if there are any parents watching, is the invite guardians. If your student is in Google Classroom, you can have the teacher invite you to participate in this classroom. Now, when I say participate, you're not going to be seeing directly into the Google Classroom. You will only be able to see a snapshot of what's been assigned to your student this week. So you're not going to see the actual stream that we're seeing right now from the student view. You're just going to get an email with a list of activities and assignments that's been assigned to your student that week.
But as a parent, that's pretty handy.
Yeah.
Because you think about like all the stuff that my kid has done digitally. I'd like to see a little bit of well, this is what they've been assigned.
Well, how many times do you pick up your kids? What'd you do at school day? Nothing.
Yeah.
So now you kind of get a snapshot of what that teacher's doing week to week.
And it's real handy. And it's not going to be one of those things that it bombards me or bombards you as a parent with emails. It's going to be one email a week, and it's going to be just really, like Jesse said, a snapshot of, okay, this is what's been assigned to your student. These are the things that your students turned in. This is the grade they got on that test, that quiz this week. So it's a real neat little kind of overview of what's happening in Google Classroom.
So we're going to go and talk about the classwork tab real quick. Now, we're talking about these tabs. There's one tab that is missing from the older view of Google Classroom, and that's the About tab. Now, we had a lot of teachers who loved the About tab because they used it as a place where they stored information like a syllabus or class resources. Google has done away with the About tab, but we still have that functionality within the classwork tab. I kind of stumbled upon this when I was trying to organize a classroom for myself for some professional development. I wanted a place where my teachers could go and have materials ready for them to use. So when I'm in my classwork tab and I click on Create, if you notice down here, we got this materials button. Now I can add materials now. So now this becomes my repository of information like my About tab was. I could throw all my syllabus in there. I could throw in notes. I could throw in a list of websites, or I could throw in links to websites if I wanted to. So if I missed my About tab, which a lot of people did, the materials within classwork is the way to go to get back at functionality. So when I click on material, I can come down here and if it's a website, So that's going to be added in there. You give the title. We could just call it Wise County's website or homepage. You have to make sure it's in this right class or snowy day. We can give it a topic. So we're going to call this, it's not an assignment, it's not class notes, it's not quizzes. We can just create a topic and call it resources. So if you look on my classwork page, down here at the bottom's a tab for resources. So all the resources that I add from now on will show up here. So it'll be a central location where the students can go and find that information. You know, that's kind of the best thing about this change in classroom, this classwork tab. You know, before everything was found here in Stream, and the Stream could get pretty diluted or flooded with information. So if I gave Daniel an assignment and also posted a bunch of discussion questions that week, and when it was time for him to do the assignment, he would have to go through that Stream and search it. Yeah. So now that's kind of taken that away. You know, your assignments are still going to show up in the Stream as you have posted them, but they can go to the classwork page, and there they all are in one spot that they can find real easy. And it kind of helps the teacher also finding the students' work. All right, so let's talk about actually doing an assignment and doing some other stuff. So I got one assignment down here that Daniel could do. So to create an assignment, you just come up and hit the blue plus that says create, and I'm going to do an assignment. Give it a title. And now I can upload stuff that I have on my computer. If I have a worksheet that I want them to fill out, I can throw this in here. If I have something in my Google Drive, I can do that. If I wanted them to watch a YouTube video, then upload an essay about that video, I could do that right here. Or if I wanted to send them to a web link, I could do that also. So once I did that, let's just pull something up out of, here's something I've been using. It's a diagram of a circuit. So I could give that to students. Now here's a very important thing for first-time Google Classroom users is when you assign something to students and you're wanting them to turn it back in, this is very important. Click this drop-down arrow and make a copy for each student. So if you don't do that, basically they would all be working on the same document. So this way they all get their own copy and they're turning in their own separate work.
Now, if you don't do that in this step, if you don't say make a copy for each student in this step, when you're initially creating that assignment, you can't go back on that one.
Once I hit assign, it's done. If you go back to edit it, you cannot change that. You just basically have to delete the entire assignment and start over from scratch.
So that's the one thing that we will say. Be careful when you're making your assignment that you have the settings set in that assignment that you want, because it's just like on Facebook. When you post it, it's out there. And the same thing with this. When you post that out there, it's there and it kind of seals it in on certain settings. And one of those settings is how the files that you've attached react inside that assignment. So if you wanted it to make a copy for each student, but you accidentally set it as everybody can edit the same document, you're going to have to delete that and start over.
So once you add your material, you come up here and tell them how many points it's going to be, give it a due date, or you can leave it blank. So I'm going to make this due Friday and add a topic. This is very important because this is going to tell this where to go within the classwork tab. So is this an assignment? Is this a quiz? Is this a resource? Or is it class notes? It's just an assignment. So I'm going to click that and click assign. Now, you can schedule assignments. Now, if you want to do stuff for later on in the semester, you know you're going to do, but you've already got it prepared, you can assign this to be scheduled to go out a month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now. So we're going to assign it. So here it shows up in the assignments tab in the classwork page. So it's pretty easy to add assignments. When you click on the assignment, it'll show you how many people have turned it in and how many is late and how many has been assigned to. Now let's go back. Let's do one more assignment because this right here is a real neat feature. This came out a little bit last year. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. When I do an assignment, I can do some differentiation. I don't have to assign the same work to every student. I can differentiate my instruction. I can give this group of students this assignment, and I can give this other group another assignment. You know, it might be the same thing, same topic, but just doing it in a different way. And the way I do this is, so I just type in my title. type in my instructions, whatever they are, give it its points, do the due date. You could even add a time option. If you want it done by midnight, you could throw that in there. We're going to give it its topic. We're going to do assignments. But up here, where you see the 4, it's a snow day class, but I go down here and click on all students. I hit this drop down arrow. I uncheck that box. Now I can choose who I assign this to. So you can do some self-paced learning also. If you want your students to work at their own pace, and once they've mastered the topic, go on to the next one, you could have all your assignments scheduled. And as they finish up this assignment 1, go in assignment 2 and assign it to those students, and just those students. And so whenever these 2 other students master the assignment, you could add them. So everybody can be working on their own pace. That's a pretty neat little feature that came out last year. You would just hit assign and off it would go. And the best thing is, if I didn't assign it to Daniel, he's not going to know. Only the people who it's assigned to is going to know. So it's a great way to do some differentiation. So here's one thing, a new feature that we forgot to mention was how easy it is to add a Google Forms quiz into Google Classroom now. Used to, you'd have to create your quiz, go in, create an assignment, and pull that quiz in from Google Drive. Now I can create a Google Forms quiz directly from the classwork tab. I hit create, come down to quiz assignment. As you notice, I've already got a quiz section created, a quiz topic, and I've already done one. So I'm going to create another one. So we're going to do quiz assignment, give it a title, and you see right here, blank quiz. Basically, you create your quiz right here within Classroom. So I'm going to click on the blank quiz. Now you would just put in your questions and your answers, fill out your answer keys, and all that information. And once you finished, giving this points, its due date, its topic. Right here's important, grade importing, You have this selected, so I'll automatically throw it into that grade book that if your school system has. If they've signed up for the beta version of this, whenever someone takes the quiz, it's going to throw that grade in there. So it's less work on the teacher. We always look for anything that's going to help make your job easier. All right. So once you're finished with that, click assign. Now you can do the scheduling and all the same stuff that you do with assignments. I think that's pretty much all I have for you. The stream here's one important thing. This isn't new, but question we get asked all the time, can I move stuff within the stream? It goes from the newest thing that's posted will be at the top. And that's the way it's always going to work. So you can't manipulate the stream. Now you can manipulate the classwork tab. Now, say the first thing I want the students to see is assignments. I can click and drag assignments and put it at the top of the page. If I wanted their notes to be the first thing, I could do that. So however you want to organize your classwork page, you can. You got anything to add, Daniel?
I say we show them a little bit with the gradebook tab.
Okay.
I'll show my screen here, and we'll show you kind of what the students are seeing. So Jesse's added a bunch of these assignments here. So as a student, what am I going to see, and how can I use Google Classroom? And as a parent, what are your kids using Google Classroom, and what are they seeing with Google Classroom? If they're sitting there at home with their Chromebook or laptop or on their computer or on their iPad or phone even, you can get the app for Google Classroom on an iPhone, on an iPad, on an Android phone, an Android tablet. You can get on Google Classroom from any computer that has a web browser, Mac, Chromebook, PC, whatever you got, you can get to Google Classroom. So what are they seeing, and how are they using Google Classroom? Well, first of all, Jesse has updated the stream, and it shows me that as the teacher, my teacher has updated the stream. So if I click on the show button, it is going to update the stream a little bit, show me a little bit about what's been posted inside of Google Classroom. But like Jesse said, one of the things that you probably want to do if you're a student or if your students are getting into Google Classroom, one of the things they're going to want to do is to go to the classwork tab. And that's going to be where they see all of the content that the teacher has assigned to them, whether it be things that they need to turn in, if
Now, here's
it's
something
resources.
I'll add about the classwork tab and classwork in general with Google Classroom. Google Classroom, it's a great tool, but a lot of people, when they hear it, they're like, well, if I don't have students turning in work, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's one great feature of Google Classroom. That's not the selling point for me. The selling point is how I can organize all this information and the kids have it anywhere they go. My son has left his notebook at school before, but his tablet at home, he never loses that.
Yeah.
So this is something that, kids like and they keep up with, and it's always available with them phones. Anything we put on that phone that kids can use and look at, it's a great thing.
And we've got teachers all the way down to first grade who are utilizing Google Classroom in different ways. So just because your kids are like lower elementary, third, first grade, kindergarten, we're both K2 can do kind of people. I mean, they can K2 can too. They can get in and use it. You just got to find a way that you can use it with your kids. So
just because they're not turning in work doesn't mean you're not using it to full ability.
Make it as a resource and not really look at it as a requirement.
I guess that's the good thing about it. You can make it as much as you want.
Absolutely.
You can center your entire class around it, or it can just be one resource in your tool belt.
So, I mean, like you've got these class notes here. If you've got a slideshow, if you've got a PowerPoint, you've got a Google slide, if you've got a smart notebook file, if you've got an online resource that you're using and you want to use that as a class resource for class notes or whatever, that's a great place to put that. And as a student, I'm able to get in and see what was assigned and what was gone over and what was posted and what was said in class today. Another thing that you may do, if you're one of those teachers that likes to record videos for your classroom, this is a great place to do that. Or if you've got YouTube videos that you use in your classroom, this would be great.
This might be the greatest remediation tool that we've
absolutely
found in the last 5 years.
Absolutely. You've got kids that just need a little bit more work, a little bit more help with things. This is the place that you can put them. You can have content in there that's geared specifically to individual students. So Jesse's assigned these assignments to me. He's got create a Google Slides presentation. If I click on it, I get a little bit more description about it. And then I click on View Assignment to really open up and start working on this assignment. So I open that up. Now I can see, okay, this is where I go in, and this is where I add my attachments, or I mark it as done, or if there's some kind of attachment in here, let's go back and we'll look at that one that he posted with the actual attachment. There we go. So let's view that assignment. So you see, it's already created a copy for me. It's put my name on it. So I could open that up and start working on that file if I wanted to. I want to go back, though, where I have to create that content. So I'm going to go into this assignment, click on View Assignment. And now I could either add it from my computer or from my Google Drive. And I tell my students that I work with and that are getting into Google Classroom, if you've got the content already there that your teacher's asking for, then click the Add button. If you don't have that, then you're going to have to create it, so click the Create button. I don't have a Google slide presentation about my favorite element in the periodic table, so I'm going to click on Create, and I want to choose Slides. And it will create a Google slide with my name on it so that Jesse, as my teacher, is able to see the content that I have started working on. So I can open that slideshow up, and I'm going to molybdenum, I think was the name of it. I'm not a chemistry person. I remember it as molybdenum. I think we'll say it, that's the way you say it. I really don't know. I thought it was the coolest sounding element whenever I was in high school chemistry. So molybdenum. I know that's not how you say it. You chemistry people that are out there, you're going to correct me probably when I come up and to your school next time. But we're going to add that in if we wanted to insert an image. And parents, this is why we love Google. This is why it's awesome. This is all free, and students can search the web for, hey, I spelled it right the first time. For images, yeah, I'm going to use that one. They can add images into their documents, their slides, and all this is free. You don't have to have Microsoft Office. You don't have to have anything installed on your computer. Every bit of this is free for your students to be able to use, and that's why we love the fact that we are a Google for Education school division, because students have access to all of these different creative suites inside of their Google account. So I am done with this. I just added a few little things. I'm going to close that tab out, and I'm going to tell Jazzy I'm turning it in. So, Mr. Roberts, I have turned in my work. And so now Jesse is going to be able to see my work. And let me show you what he sees here. We're going to cast his screen over to you, and that way you can see what he's seeing here. So here he sees.
Here's the assignment for create a slide presentation. See, one's turned in. I click on that, and it will show me Daniel's work. I can click on his name and on the link. It's going to take me to his slideshow. So here I can give him his grade. I can, if he did it wrong, I can say a topic. Or sorry, I can add a comment. I can say, please add a description. And I can send that back to him without giving it, if he's done it wrong, I can help him out, guide him in the right way how to finish this assignment. Or I can just go ahead and give him a grade. I'll return. Here's a big thing, guys. If you're using Classroom, a lot of teachers say, hey, I graded this, but the kids say they're not getting it back because you have not returned it. So it's graded, but I have not returned it to him. And for this to go into the grade book, I'm going to have to return it to him. So I click return and telling it to return to him.
I think it's a confusing word sometimes for us too with return. Think about it as exactly as you are getting papers or getting assignments physically from students. You put a grade on it and you give it back to them. You're returning it to them. We've done some professional development where teachers turn in things to us and we return it to them, and they'll turn it right back into us and think, hey, well, you returned it. Is everything okay? Yeah, you got it right. We returned it with a grade. It's good. And so that's the exact same thing that you're physically doing in the digital realm. You're returning that assignment back with a grade on it. And so now, as a student, this is what I like. I just got this right back from Jesse, and it has my grade right there on it. Tells me I got a 100 on this. If I needed to work on it again and resubmit it, I can open that slideshow back up.
Comments are down there from the teacher.
Yeah, I can add a comment back to Mr. Roberts. I can say, hey, this is thanks for your help on this, or I did that, or whatever, or it's done. Now, if I wanted to add a class comment as a student about that, and this is all again, if the class has the rights to comment back, you can turn that off as a teacher if you want. But if I have the rights to comment back, I can add a class comment. I can ask the whole class, hey, did anybody else have problems with this, or what's everybody else thinking about this, if you want them to have a class discussion. So it's totally up to you how far you want that to go. It's pretty neat that I'm able to go in and see that grade immediately.
Mine, isn't it?
No, show mine.
Okay.
So the other thing that I'm able to do as a student, and parents, this is something that you may want to have your students go in and log into their Google Classroom and show you their work. So if you want to kind of see, okay, well, what are you turning in? What kind of assignments are you turning in as a student? Have your kids log in to Google Classroom and click on the classwork tab and click on view my work or view your work. You're able to go in and see exactly what's been assigned to you. You're able to see what's been returned with a grade.
Here's what I like, what's missing.
What's missing. And that's probably one of the biggest things is as a parent, you're able to have your student log in and see exactly what they're missing inside Google Classroom. If you're using Google Classroom as a teacher, you're going to be able to see what's missing from your students. So you could click on a student's individual name, and you'll see this exact same look here. How
many times do you get this question asked to you, a parent calling, what are they missing?
Yeah, and that's...
So now you go through the grade book, and you're trying to find, here you can just go and get a list like that.
And it's so simple to use. Google Classroom is so simple to use because it's so intuitive. It's just a few clicks, and you can get to the content that you need. You can get to what you need to turn in. As a teacher, one of my favorite things, and if you're using Google Classroom and you've got multiple blocks, I highly recommend that you click over here on the left, this little hamburger looking thing. It's 3 lines, and click on To Do. To Do is going to be your biggest friend when it comes down to Google Classroom because you're able to go in and see an overview of everything that you need to grade as a teacher, everything that you need to return as a teacher. You can see everything that's been assigned, who's turned it in, who hasn't turned it in, things that you've already reviewed that you need to turn back to students. You have an access to see all of that right there in the to-do. Students, you also have a to-do. So if you click on to-do under the ones that you're enrolled in, the classes you're enrolled in, you're going to see what's coming up. What do I need to turn in? So it's really neat that I'm able to quickly view, either as a teacher or as a student, exactly what I need to do inside of Google Classroom. Anything else that we can think of, or any questions, I guess, out there is, I guess now's a good time to see if there's any questions. Leah says that she can't hear very well. She has her volume all the way up. We have turned our volume all the way up as far as we can on here on our end, Leah. I don't know. Is anybody else having volume issues that you can see? Or if there's any questions that you have about Google Classroom or how you're using Google Classroom, this would be a great time to comment those in, and we can answer any questions that you have. But we do absolutely love the way that Google Classroom kind of lays itself out for students, for teachers. And we've seen some really neat uses of Google Classroom over the past few years. We've been Google School Division for how long now?
5 years.
5 years.
It's crazy to think.
We've been using it. So we've seen teachers using this, obviously in the classroom for assigning work to students. We use it for professional development. We've got some principals who are using it as a replacement for the actual faculty meetings.
Yes.
I've got Mr. Clendenin. He videos his overview of everything that's going on that week, and he throws it out there to his teachers. And then we've got a few schools that are using it for turning in lesson plans to the principal. And then we just have the standard use.
Well, we had teachers who went completely paperless.
Yeah.
And we have teachers, like you were talking about Miss Martin, who's using it in the first grade. Kind of explain to them how she's using that in the first grade. Because, like we said, we're K2 can do.
Can too, yeah.
Yeah, can too. Sorry.
Can too.
Yeah.
But they can do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And so really, it's how you can see yourself using Google Classroom. And how you could pull out Google Classroom. And there's no wrong way of using Google Classroom, I guess, unless you just absolutely say, I'm not using that. Yeah. But then if you find another way that you want to get content out to your students so that they all have access to it at any time, that's the thing.
Here's one thing that I guess we maybe didn't mention is the collaboration between educators.
Yeah.
We had an instance between Union and Eastside High School where we had a teacher go out on maternity leave, and a teacher at Eastside High School, through video and through Google Classroom, was actually helping teach that math course. I'm trying to remember who was the teacher at Eastside.
Was it Ms. White?
I think it was Miss White. So if you're out there watching Miss White, good job.
Yeah, great job on that. And that's the kind of innovation that we love seeing.
Well, Judy Evans says her video quality is poor, but I can hear you.
Okay,
well, that's good. This is a radio face.
Yeah,
you got the best end of the stick there.
So if Beth Sloan asks, if I wanted to use the morning work from CIP, would I have to assign those each day? What would be most effective way to implement something like that? Now, what you could do is you could schedule those assignments so that, you just come in, you could set up and have those assignments schedule out, or those posts schedule out ahead of time. Or if you, and then if you wanted to, you could even set up, and the thing that I like about Google Classroom too, and I think we're still showing my screen here, so I'll show you this real quick. One of the things I love about Google Classroom is, let's say that I wanted to use this LFA professional development as a template class. I can click on the 3 dots and I can say copy, and it copies everything in that class. It doesn't copy stream posts. So like the announcements that I make that are day-to-day announcements, no, it's not going to copy those. But all of my resources, all of my materials, all of my assignments, everything is going to copy into a new class. So Beth, you could do one of two things. You could either go through and you could schedule those posts in that class, or you could make yourself a template class where you've just gone ahead and you've posted everything. You just make everything a post, and then you go in and you either make a copy of that class, or you can reuse posts. So if I click on the reuse button inside the class, you can reuse posts from that template as well.
It would be all right to go ahead and show them the bit.ly.
Yeah, let's go ahead and if you are if you're coming in and you've watched this through, and you're from Wise County Schools, I guess we could open it up. I guess say anybody who's watched it sign in, but Wise County Schools, we just want to kind of keep a track of who all has watched it. So if you are watching this, you want to go to our bit.ly. This is going to be a sign in for you to be able to sign in that you have watched this broadcast. And I mean, if you're not from Wise County Schools and you want to sign in, shoot, we'll take your name. We'll put you down. Can't guarantee we can't give you anything for it. But if you want to say, hey, I was here and I watched, that'd be fine too.
Now we still are going to show you the grade book, so stick around. We just had a teacher or two saying he's having connectivity issues and he's getting ready to get kicked off and battery issues. So if you can stick around, we're going to show you the grade book. But here's a sign in just in case.
I need to use the restroom.
I've got my kids in here too, so that was Micah.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, Jesse didn't say you need to go battery. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at the gradebook feature. So this gradebook, and we'll let Jesse show his screen here so he can kind of show you, okay, he just gave a grade. You may turn in a few more assignments there. That way you can give me some grades on things.
Yeah,
Jesse.
go ahead.
I'm going to do a few more assignments. I'll do the quiz. So let's do the quiz. Day comes after Tuesday, Wednesday, I hope. Bill Belichick coaches New England Patriots. All right. Very cool. View my score. Got a 10 out of 10. And it should have just gone into your class. So and I think your class is the one that's showing right now.
So I click on the quiz form here. It shows me one's turned in. Click on the assignment. Turned in. I got to go up here and I got to click import grades. It's going to bring his grade in. He got 10 out of 10 because I know it's out of 10 points. All right, so let's go back. Let's go up here to the grades tab. This is where you will find your grade book. And here's all the assignments that I have put in there. Here is the assignment that he turned in with the presentation and I graded. And here is the quiz that he just done. I imported the grade. So once I click import grades, all those grades of those quizzes will come in. Now you can see here, these guys do not have a grade. Once the due date has passed, it will show up as blank out of 100 or blank out 10, whatever you have the point value, and will say missing grade in red. So it will show you each student's missing grade. And if they do the assignment late, it will show you their grade that you've graded and that it was turned in late. So you'll give you that feedback right now. So Daniel kind of already showed you this, but I'm going to show it to you again, how you can set up your grade book a little bit. You do that by clicking on the gear icon. They go back. Might have done that a little bit too quick. And here's a neat little tool I found, a zoom feature. So click on the little gear icon, and you'll scroll down here to the bottom to gradebook. I'm doing total points right now because it's easy, just real easy to do. You could do the weighted categories, and like Daniel said, you just add your grade categories, and they have to equal 100. So you can do quizzes, tests, daily work, assignments, however you want to set this up. So the grade book, it's pretty easy. It's really simple to set up. It's real simple to use, and Google does most of the work for you, which is the best part of it. Especially if you're using a lot of Google Forms quizzes, you can import those grades. It throws it in there for you.
Now I'm going to ask the big question: can it be exported out for a student information system? Can we export those grades out?
Not yet.
Not yet. You can export grades, right? I mean, you can export them as a CSV.
You can export them as a CSV, yes.
But there's not an automatic, export, imports, all settings are great.
So Zach Lawson, if you're watching, that would be awesome.
I know you can import grades into TAC. If you're a Wise County Schools user and you use Teacher Access Center, you can import grades in to TAC, but it does have to have a specific type of layout for that spreadsheet. And so it would just be really about manipulating the spreadsheet that you get out of Google Classroom so that TAC can read that. So answering really, yeah, you can, but it's not really just like a cut and dry kind of thing. You don't just go in and just like export, import, you're done. You do have to play around with the spreadsheet a little bit to make it go into TAC. So really, it's at that point you could almost
here's kind of my thought
just as fast
on grades and in Google Classroom. You know, a lot of teachers give binder grades.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen some teachers who will give a Google Classroom grade as a part of their 9 weeks average.
Yeah.
So this kind of becomes the binder grade for your students. And how easy is it going around and check and see if everybody has everything?
Yeah.
You know, when I checked the binders when I was a history teacher, I had to go through and make sure they had every assignment. Now I can click on their name in the grade book, and there it is. There's all their assignments. And it has that grade book, or at binder grade automatically averaged for you. You know, that's one way I see people using it,
mm-hmm.
especially right now where it won't seamlessly integrate into TAC.
Yeah. And that's just another way of, I mean, you really think about using Google Classroom. In that kind of scenario, you probably aren't using Google Classroom as your sole way of taking up grades. It becomes just another type of grade that you take, and another way for you to get content out to your students to take up assignments.
So, you know, if y'all take away anything from this training today, here's one thing I really want you to take to heart. You know, all this information that we show you, you know, there's many different ways to use it. You know, choose the way that works best for you and ask us for our help. You know, we can come in and help you, put you on that path to use it, how it's going to fit your classroom. Because, you know, every classroom's different and technology is not one size, fits, it's not one size fits all. We can, use it in different ways and just find a way that works best for you and in your situation.
Yeah. All right. So if there are no other questions or there's nothing else that anybody has, I don't see any other questions being posted on the live chat. And if you have questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to ask us. You can email us. You can send us a Google Hangouts chat. Send us a message on Facebook. If you're tuning in from another school division or another location, or you're just a parent and you just want to get in touch with us, I usually work with the Wise area schools. Jesse usually covers the Big Stone Gap area schools. So if you're a parent from one of those two locations, you can hit us up.
They can always see their schools level building, their schools building ITRT.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of get in touch. We got Josh Reynolds over. He's at J.W. Adams and Coburn Middle School and Eastside. So he's covering that area. And then Kevin Marcus is covering Coburn Primary School, St. Paul Elementary, and the Alternative Education Center. So if you are in any of those schools or your kids go to any of those schools and you'd like to get in touch with one of us to say, hey, can you just tell me a little bit about what I can do as far as a parent, or if you're the administrator or you're a teacher there, you just want to really kind of use some of this content, get in touch with us, because we would love to come in and help you in any way we could in really reaching our students in a more 21st century model and a little bit better way of reaching our students so that everybody has access to the content as much as they can. So we do have our sign-in here, and we'll share that with you so you have access to the sign-in sheet. So if you want to sign in here, you can go to bit.ly/newngc. It stands for New in Google Classroom. So if you want to go to bit.ly/newngc, it will give us a sign-in for where you come from or whatever, so that you are able to say, hey, I attended this training. So if nothing else, I guess we will cut out, and hopefully if we have another snow day, we'll be right back here around 1 o'clock and try to do another training for you. And we'd like to start a little series. We talked about it a little bit earlier. What's new? So some of the this is what's new in Google Classroom. Maybe look at like what's new in Google Forms, what's new in Google Slides, what's new in general. We're getting ready to hit one of our major conferences that we really learn a lot from. and we really are able to bring back things to our area from these conferences. So that's one of the things that we really look forward to is being able to find things that's new out there that we can bring back to y'all. So if there is nothing else and no one else has any other comments or questions, we're going to go ahead and cut out. And you all have a wonderful rest of your snow day, and we will see you all next time.